film opens when Ivan Drago, a former professional boxer, awakens his son Victor to start his boxing training in Kyiv, Ukraine. After that, they attend a boxing match where Victor dominates and quickly knocks out his opponent. Victor is a behemoth with tremendous strength and vitality. Buddy Marcel, a promoter, is monitoring Victor from the audience in the meantime. The action then switches to the United States, where another professional boxer, Adonis Creed aka Danny, has won 6 consecutive fights after losing to Ricky Conlan 3 years ago. Danny is prepared to face Danny Wheeler aka Stuntman in a World Heavyweight Championship match today. Wheeler is the same boxer against whom Danny lost his Mustang GT as a bet before the match. Danny has a brief conversation with Rocky Balboa, his coach, during which he is advised to fight for glory and have faith in oneself. Bianca, Donnie's girlfriend, visits him in the interim and encourages him to win the match. Danny confronts Wheeler as soon as she enters the arena. The fight starts and both boxers start assaulting one another. Wheeler manages to hit Danny a few times and Donnie responds by giving him a powerful punch as well. After several rounds of fierce combat, Wheeler is knocked out cold by Danny after receiving a powerful punch. Donnie finally prevails in the fight and claims the WBC World Heavyweight Championship and the adoration of thousands of spectators. He is thrilled with his victory and the return of his old Mustang. Later that evening, Danny stops by Rocky's house with an engagement ring and asks him if he ought to ask Bianca to marry him. Although Danny appears to be deeply in love with Bianca, he is unsure of how to approach her. He asks Rocky what he said to Adrian, his late wife, when he proposed to her, and Rocky replies that he said or did something stupid. Danny is then advised to speak honestly, and he promises him that Bianca will unquestionably accept his proposal. Before leaving, Donnie inquires about Rocky's health, to which the latter responds that he is completely covered from cancer and in good health. Donnie then returns to Bianca's room and makes an attempt to pop the question as soon as she exits the shower. However, Bianca hasn't put on her hearing aids, so when he expresses his feelings for her, she is unable to hear him. She doesn't know what to do when she sees Donnie down on one knee holding the ring. Once Donnie reassures her of his love for her, Bianca is initially confused and unsure of what to say but happily accepts his proposal. Rocky visits Adrian's grave in the next scene and briefly speaks with her, telling her that he hasn't spoken to their son Robert in years and hasn't even met their grandchild. Ivan and his son Victor are accompanied by their promoter friend when they arrive in Philadelphia. Later on that day, Ivan makes a visit to Rocky's restaurant to meet him for the first time in almost 30 years. Rocky goes there and is astonished to discover Ivan waiting for him. Ivan is the same fighter who Rocky defeated in a famous match years ago. Ivan then suggests a battle between Victor and Danny, but Rocky declines, telling him to put their rivalry in the past and get on with his life. Ivan, who is furious, tells Rocky that he lost everything as a result of the beating. He said that following the game, he not only lost his wife but also his respect in Russia. Before departing, he says the match between Donnie and Victor is especially very personal to him. Meanwhile, Donnie and Bianca are spending quality time together in a diner when a newscast breaks shows Victor competing for Donnie's World Heavyweight Championship. The newscasters make sure to point out that Victor is the son of the man who murdered Donnie's father. Danny becomes furious at the time and begins planning his retaliation. In the following scene, Buddy approaches Danny as he is taking in one of Bianca's concerts and tries to get him to fight Victor. He incites Danny to battle and seek revenge for the death of his father. Surprisingly, Danny accepts his proposal and leaves. Afterwards, Donnie visits Rocky and tells him all about his choice to challenge Victor. Rocky, on the other hand, rejects the notion and says that he doesn't want to see Victor defeat him as his father Apollo did when he faced Ivan. He also disdains Danny's sole motivation for fighting, which is anger and rage. He attempts to persuade Danny to reconsider fighting Victor, but the latter seems determined in his choice. Rocky decides to sit out the fight after watching this and declines to help Danny prepare for it. Danny informs Bianca after returning from Rocky's residence that they will move into their new apartment, close to his mother Mary's home in Los Angeles. Danny and Bianca then go to Mary to tell her about his decision to challenge Victor. Danny assumes that they are come to announce Bianca's pregnancy when she asks Mary about the fight. The two just laugh it off, but Bianca decides to take a pregnancy test. The pregnancy test results are unexpectedly positive. After some consideration, Danny and Bianca decide to retain the child. Danny visits Mary a short while later to let her know about the fight with Victor. Mary is obviously saddened to learn that Danny wants to fight, but she agrees to let him as long as he doesn't use her or Apollo in his justification for the fight. Danny then looks for Tony Evers, Little Duke. Turns out that Tony is the son of the same man who trained Apollo back then. Tony finally agrees to Danny's request to get him ready for the bout with Victor after some deliberation. After that, he begins a tough training regimen and leaves no stone spare in his battle preparation. Victor and Danny attack one another on the day of the match's announcement, demonstrating the level of resentment and contempt they each harbor. The scene then shifts to the game day, where Ivan makes a remark about Apollo enraging Danny. Danny seemed to have confidence in himself at the beginning of the fight, landing several powerful headshots on Victor. But the giant quickly regains his composure and hits Danny again to counter. Rocky, on the other hand, is seen watching the fight by himself in his restaurant. Danny's ribs were broken in the meantime by a series of powerful blows delivered by Victor. As Danny is on his knees writhing in pain, Victor finishes him off with an unlawful headshot, though Victor gets disqualified for the illegal strike. Everybody else is anxious about Danny's health. In the following hospital scene, the doctor approaches Bianca and tells her that Danny is not in immediate danger but has significant rib fractures. Additionally, he says that he needs time to recover. Later, when Bianca visits Danny, he is ashamed of the loss and is unable to look at her. Rocky tries to see him at the hospital as well, but Danny shouts at him and accuses him of being responsible for his loss, claiming that he would have defeated Victor if Rocky had trained him. After a few weeks, Bianca notices that Danny is becoming less interested in everyone, including her. Little Duke approaches Donnie and says him that Victor wants to have a rematch because Danny is still the acknowledged champion. He also tells him that he has the option of not taking on Victor, but that he had to pick a challenger right away or risk losing the championship. However, Danny seems uninterested and walks away without responding. Meanwhile, Mary writes a letter to Rocky on the back of a sonogram photo of the unborn baby, informing him that Danny needs him. Rocky is finally convinced to go to Los Angeles to surprise Danny at his mother's house, where he tells Danny that he thinks of him as his own son and doesn't want him to fight against Victor. After exchanging a few insults, the two ultimately reconcile. The Drago can be seen celebrating Victor's success with a dinner in the following scene, which is disturbed when Ivan's ex-wife and Victor's mother Ludmila suddenly appear with her new husband. An incensed Victor then prepares to leave the scene, but Ivan stops him and says that they are actually there to help him. Elsewhere, Bianca finally gives birth to a daughter, whom she and Danny name Amara. Afterwards, the doctors test to see if she shares Bianca's hearing issue. Regrettably, she is born deaf. Upon hearing this, Rocky is reminded of his son Robert and leaves the room. Outside, he tries to call Robert, but eventually discards the attempt. One night, Bianca leaves Amara and Danny alone. After a while, Amara begins to cry, and Danny is unable to stop her. After several unsuccessful attempts, he takes her to a boxing training facility. Surprisingly, when Danny starts hitting the punching bag, she calms down and even smiles at him. This makes Donnie very happy and he realizes that she too loves boxing. He also realizes that boxing is in his blood and he must defeat Victor to prove himself. Danny and Bianca have a serious discussion about fighting Victor again at night. He also mentions that he wants to win the fight for their daughter and be her hero. Bianca reluctantly agrees and makes him promise that he will return to his family. She then starts motivating him that he must win the fight. Later, Danny approaches Little Duke and Rocky to talk through the fight's specifics. This time Rocky agrees to coach him. Following this, Little Duke has given the task of calling the WBC and making the fight against Victor official. The following scene, Rocky takes Danny to a remote location in the midst of the desert where all of the training gear is made of abrasive materials, to re-energize his spirit and accustom him to hard circumstances. They largely concentrate on physical endurance and actual game situations. Victor gradually gains strength and transforms into an unstoppable boxer. Danny gradually gains strength and starts to develop into an invincible boxer. However, on the other, Victor continues to participate in club matches and triumphs in each one. Not a single opponent can withstand him for more than 4 rounds. Then the scene changes to the match day, which is occurring in Moscow. The Russian crowd boos Danny as he enters the arena, but Rocky, Bianca, and Mary are there to lift his spirits. On the other hand, the audience is very supportive of Victor because they came to see him triumph. Rocky approaches Danny just before the battle and encourages him to fight until the last end. Soon the match starts, and Danny controls the opening round to send a strong message that this duel would not end like the last one. However, in the second round, Victor counterattacks and takes the initiative with a series of body strikes to the ribs of Danny and strong headshots. The following rounds and knocks Danny to the ground, but to his astonishment, Danny continues to climb back up. Rocky tries to signal Danny to take Victor down during the round breaks, while Ivan encourages Victor to assault Danny and break him again. Soon later, Danny succeeds in landing additional powerful blows, bringing down Victor twice. Ludmila and her husband realize that Danny's going to win the match, so they get up and walk away from the arena. After he realizing this, Victor is distraught as he feels like he let his mother down when Ivan and Victor notice them leaving. Meanwhile, Danny continues to hit Victor, and seeing his son in a very critical condition and not defending himself, Ivan realizes that Victor will die, but never give up. After realizing that his son's life is worth more than simply a title and prestige, he decides to give up the fight in order to save his son. Ivan reassures Victor that it's okay that he lost, and he embraces him. As Bianca enters the ring to join Danny and Little Duke in celebrating the victory, Rocky excuses himself, encouraging Donnie to enjoy his moment. With this, Danny keeps his heavyweight title. He then sits down outside the ring to observe their victory. Rocky finally visits Robert in Chicago in the following scene, where he first gets to see his grandson Logan. Rocky is welcomed inside by Robert, who also introduces Logan to his grandfather. Ivan and Victor, on the other hand, went back to Ukraine and continue their training. In the final scene, Donnie pays his respects to his father and introduces Amara to him as he, Bianca, and Amara visit Apollo's tomb. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more, hit the like button to support us, and leave a comment if you'd like us to review your favorite movie. Until the next time, take care.